Have you ever heard of the place where dogs go to commit suicide? It's called Overtoun Bridge, and it's on a place called Overtoun Estate, which in itself is a very haunted location. But since this bridge's construction in 1855, more than 600 dogs have jumped off this 50-foot bridge. Now, most of these dog jumps have happened in more modern times because the area is open to the public now for people to walk the grounds and to walk the roads and explore and sightsee. Overtoun Estate is a absolutely gorgeous big manor that itself is supposed to be haunted by Lady Overtoun, the wife of the original founder of the estate. People describe her as a weeping woman that walks the grounds and the halls of the castle. They'll hear her crying or sobbing or talking in a low murmur. People report hearing disembodied footsteps along with disembodied voices and whispers. Now, this bridge that so many dogs have jumped off of to their death is weirder than you would ever imagine, because in some of the cases the dogs don't die and have been reported limping back up to the top of the bridge and then jumping off a second time. Now, people are unsure of why this is happening. The Celtics believe that the area is called a thin place, which means the veil is thin there, and maybe the dogs are seeing something we can't. We all know that our animals can see into the unknown world. I have this story that I shared, and I did a deep dive on this story about the house that I grew up in. A man actually hung himself in the back area near this storage shed. And when I would walk my dogs at night and I would go to put them back in the backyard, they would stop at the exact spot where he hung himself. They would sit on their hind legs, look into the sky, and growl. That building was no longer there, but if the building was still there, he hung himself off the rafter that kind of extended off the front of it, and that would have lined up perfectly where they would stop, sit, and growl. They would do this about once every other week, and it always scared the daylights out of me, and I knew they had to be seeing like the residual of his spirit, or the dark presence that left behind. And Overtoun Estate is near an area where there was absolute bloodbaths. Okay, and it's called Dumbarton Castle. Dumbarton Castle is a short drive away. Many soldiers would have been hurt going to and from this place. There would have been a lot of heightened emotions going to and from this place, and they would have had to pass Overtoun Manor. But Overtoun Manor was not built yet. But it was a narrow pass they would have used to get there. So if they would have died on those grounds or been buried in unmarked graves, from their injuries from the battle, and they were able to get away, and that's where they made it to, there was countless sieges and bloody, just awful, bloodbath battles. There was public executions just right down the road from this place. Now, animal experts say that the reason why the dogs jump off this bridge is there is a mink population underneath this bridge, and maybe they're smelling them and jumping off the bridge. I grew up on a big farm with a lot of hunting dogs. None of our dogs would ever jump at anything they could not see. To me, this does not sound feasible. This sounds like the typical excuses that the government always provides when there's a weird phenomenon they can't explain. There is actually signs up everywhere. If you were to go to Scotland and go to Overtoun Estate, there are signs up everywhere saying to have your dogs on leashes, a short leash is that. Do not let your dogs go unattended if you're walking this road or walking this trail, because they will jump off this bridge. Like, that's what they're going to do. Now, it is starting to decline because there is more signs and there's more awareness about this place. It's also starting to decline because people aren't really traveling as much right now, and there's not as many people walking their dogs out there in this area, because all the locals of this area know better than to leave the dog off the leash to walk over this bridge to go sightseeing. This is an absolutely gorgeous area too, by the way, so it would attract a lot of sightseers to come there. But I'm wondering if before the estate was built, what if the dogs are almost seeing like a slip in time and they're still visualizing things before the bridge was there, and maybe there was rocks or trails there, because it seems like not only are the dogs jumping off the bridge, they're jumping off like the same point of the bridge. It's always like about a third down on this left side, and that's where they always want to jump off at. So that goes to my argument about the animal experts saying that it's minks under the bridge, because they're not going to be in just that one area. They're going to be all around that. They're going to be getting their scent all around this area. The dogs would not continue to jump off this one point. Going back to what the Celtics believe, that's a thin place. Maybe the dogs are seeing a portal, or they're seeing some kind of energy wave, and they're mistaking it as like a land bridge or some other way you can walk on this. It has been documented and cited. I obviously will not put a video on this, but the dogs do it so confidently, like there's no doubt in their mind that they're making this jump that they're trying to do. more than 600. And that's just the documented ones that we know of. Now, this is a 50-foot drop. So like I said, it doesn't always kill the dog. In a lot of cases it does. But in the weird few instances where they've survived a walk, they will go up and pick the same point again and jump off. That again goes against the mink theory, because in my mind, if that's really wanting the minx, if it lived the jump, it's just going to stay down there and try to get what it's wanting to get. It's definitely not going to go back up the bridge while it's hurt and then jump off again in the same exact spot. That makes literally zero sense. And I always hate how we get these bullcrap excuses to any phenomenon that we can't explain, that we just want to explain things so bad that they'll just throw anything out there. And I'm never buying it. Going back to what our dogs and cats, our animals around us can see that we can't see in the world. My other theory is, what if, Lady Overtoun is beckoning them off the bridge? She's calling to them as they get to that point. We know that, dogs and cats can see different light waves that we can't see. Like, we know that. That is a fact. So if they are seeing something that's calling them to jump off the bridge, to me, that would make much more sense than any of these other things. They're hearing something we can't hear. They're seeing something that we can't see. And it's causing this to happen. Weirdly enough, in the myths and the folktales, Lady Overtoun supposedly hated dogs. So this would kind of go along with the ghost theory side of it too. If she's calling them off the bridge to end them, essentially, because she hates them walking past her castle, her manor. That is an eerie thought to have, especially if there's like some malicious intent there. We always know that she's not a happy ghost, because every report of her talks about how she always seems to be crying or weeping, like I said earlier. Now, there's a lot of theories on that, of that reason right there. I'll let you guys go down that rabbit hole of the Overtoun family and how they got their money, how they spent their money, the life they lived. I mean, you don't have a castle that big without doing some dirty deeds in the dark. Hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope you continue to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcast and YouTube to see our long-form podcast videos. It's called Matt from Nomads. It's also on YouTube under Nomads Animal Reserve.